Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. Week 10 on DraftKings kicks off in just a couple of days, like 48 hours from now. So I'm going to take some questions from our Twitch chat like we do every single week and break down anything that they need broken down for them. Wide receivers, running backs, quarterbacks, price ranges, where we're going to look for value, the best players to pay up for. We have been polling the chat on what they believe is the best cash game option at each of the 4 different positions, QB, RB, wide receiver, and tight end. To kind of kick off cash games. This is a really strange week. There's a ton of running backs that are available. There's an awful lot of value that's popped already on the slate because of injuries to wide receivers and injuries at running back. So it's going to be a very weird and interesting week. Jared, thank you very much for the $20 donated to No Kid Hungry. Appreciate that, guys. If you have benefited at all from the content that I've put out on YouTube, take a couple of seconds, go down below, smizzle.tv/charity. Every single dollar helps as we try to march towards $25,000 raised for No Kid Hungry by the end of the year. So thank you very much for the continued support and donations to that charity, and you get those tax write-offs. So when you guys win money, you're going to need to take down your tax liabilities. That is the easiest and best way to do it. Just like right there. Just feed the kids. That's all we got to do. You see the ticker on every video. Thank you guys for being here. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell. Leave me a reply down below, and let's get to the Q&A.
He's a legend.
All right, so I got the chat in here. They're busy donating money and spamming the feed the kids emote. We have what I said was an extremely strange week this week for cash. For tournaments, it's really all over the place. There's one play that I think is really the obvious play that is going to carry well over 50% in cash, maybe as high as 65 or 70 in cash, and probably as high as 35 to 45% in tournaments. And that player is D'Ernest Johnson at 4,700 with Nick Chubb unlikely to start. Now, if Nick Chubb passes COVID, right? If he's reinstated, if he gets those 2 negative tests within the 48 hours and he plays on Sunday, then D'Ernest Johnson is relegated to that, 30% role in the offense. But in the absence of Hunt, in the absence of Nick Chubb, assuming Chubb does not start, we already saw what happens when both of those two miss and D'Ernest Johnson is the lead guy. Expectation of 20 plus touches behind one of the best offensive lines in the league that provides so much running efficiency. So D'Ernest Johnson certainly in play for us this week in the case that Nick Chubb misses. So what can you do in tournaments? You can, with a player like that, do you have to fade him? No, I don't think you have to fade him, but you have to be mindful of his tournament percentage, because it's not about just fading one player at their percentage. It's more about your collective. So if you're going to take on a big chunk with D'Ernest at 40% in tournaments, you're going to have to get different somewhere else. And I think there's a lot of opportunities for us to get different smartly this week because of how much is going to be consolidated around that. So there we go. The mods just put up who the optimal cash game quarterback poll is going to be. If you guys were watching this live on twitch.tv/Al_smizzle, want to go check it out, go get your votes in and see where you think, which cash game quarterback are you playing this week? The options are Dak Prescott, Josh Allen, Carson Wentz, Tyler Heineke, and Justin Herbert. Shocked that there's no Tom Brady on that list. I think Tom Brady's a really good quarterback. Maybe the best this week. So, as I was saying, it's really strange that cash games are so all over the place, because D'Ernest is going to be in there. We have 2 really good value options at wide receiver. The first one is James Washington, because with Chase Claypool, forced to miss time, you have James Washington stepping into a 75-80% role in an offense where he's not going to get 10 targets. I mean he could, but I doubt it. But if he steps in at 3,500 to a 5 to 7 target role, 3,500 is way too cheap. Also really good at contested catches, a very good end zone target type guy, has the ability to get open a little bit. He's not, it's strange that he went from somebody who was demanding a trade early in the season to somebody who is now an every down receiver for at least a few weeks. And Tyler Johnson, the Buccaneers announced this morning, so Friday morning, they announced that Antonio Brown is not going to be active for Sunday, and Gronkowski is not going to be active on Sunday. That vacates an awful lot of targets, opens up a lot of routes. Sharon, thank you for the $30. Appreciate that. Donate to No Kid Hungry. We march towards 18K. Probably get there by the end of the stream today. When we get to 20K, I will be matching, double matching actually, another $10,000 from me will be added to the pool by the end of the year. So I'm hoping that you guys can get to the 25,000 so that I match up to $40,000 and we can raise $65,000 collectively for No Kid Hungry by the end of 2021. So as I was saying, Tyler Johnson, in the absence of AB, got 6 targets last week. This is more than enough. DraftKings full PPR, 3,300, 6 targets, works out. You definitely have touchdown upside. Anytime that you're getting targets from Tom Brady, those targets are way more valuable than quarterback targets from most other quarterbacks in the league because he throws so damn many touchdowns. And if Evans is the only guy, because not only is Antonio Brown, Dallas Jayhawk, I'm going to have to mute alerts. Dallas Jayhawk, thank you for the $30 donated to No Kid Hungry. So Tyler Johnson is going to already run more routes. And if Godwin, who is a game time decision right now, if he is that guy who is not going to play, that opens up even more routes and even more targets, even more market share because of the vacated targets. That would be 40% of vacated targets at wide receiver alone. We know that the tight end targets and routes are going to be soaked up by Cam Brate and OJ Howard, and it's not very predictable which one is going to be the favored one that week. So like we've had situations where Gronk was out where OJ Howard ran more routes and got more targets and more targets per route run, and we've had weeks with Gronk out where Brate was the guy who led the line at tight end and had more routes and had more snaps and had more routes targets per route run. Spilled the beans, thank you for the $50. Says sharing is caring. I'm going to mute alerts for the rest of this thing. I appreciate all the donations. They'll still pop up. But I'm not going to have the alerts on for the entire hour. There's just so many targets that have been vacated. If Godwin's out, if Antonio Brown's out, that's still 20% of the target market share that you could realistically expect to go to Tyler Johnson, anywhere from like 15 to 22% of the target market share on Sunday with Godwin and Evans available. If Godwin is out, you're talking Tyler Johnson should theoretically get 20% of the target market share very predictably from a quarterback who throws it 40% of the time, 40 attempts per game, and also has a really high touchdown expectancy. So absolutely love both of those value plays. Now, because of those two value plays, it puts us in a weird situation where we might have too much value. With Johnson, the possibility of Singletary at running back if Moss is out, and both of those wide receivers, means that you can basically afford whatever you want in cash because playing all 4 of those guys is too much, and there's a lot of viable running backs on this slate. And if you can afford 1.5 or 2 of the guys that are above 7K, like a lot of people are going to play Connor as that second middle guy, they're going to play Johnson, Connor, and then pay up for one guy. Running back's going to be very, very interesting this weekend. So the quarterback that ended up taking it in the poll was Herbert. Justin Herbert with 18 touchdowns, 2,300 yards so far, coming off of a 34-point game. The Minnesota Vikings and the Chargers this week have the highest total with the closest spread between them. Herbert in games where they're favored is averaging games that they've won is averaging over 300 yards per game, multiple touchdowns per game. Efficiency, not volume, is what leads the line for quarterbacks and what's most predictive of fantasy scoring. This just looks like another spot against the Vikings, who are a middling team in terms of points against on the season, but have allowed 27 plus points per game the last 3 weeks, which is 10th in the league. So it's not like they prevent other teams from getting into the end zone. This is probably mine and everybody else's favorite game in terms of shootout expectation, right? It's not really being reflected right now in the projectable percentages in tournaments, But there it is. So Justin Herbert, chat's cash game quarterback for week 10. Watch me play Najee and Jonathan Taylor. You totally can. That's what I'm saying. Like you can 100% get there in cash. You could do anything you want in tournaments, right? Like just make sure that you're stacking and correlating. But like in cash games this week, like are you telling me you can't do Najee Harris, Taylor, Johnson, right? And then play one of, let's just say you're going to play the Bucks Johnson and like a cheap tight end, right? Conklin or Arnold, whatever one you want. I don't care, right? You still have 5,600. You still have a defense. You're probably going to pay around so you have 20,000 left for 3 spots. It's do anything you want week. Like it's cash is less straightforward. Cash is definitely less straightforward this week than it has been just because there's different routes that you can go. Usually there's like an optimal way that you have to go in cash because there's not this many options at running back and at wide receiver. There's like 8 to 10 guys that I could argue are really good running backs to play in cash this week. And there's 2 punt values at wide receiver. So do with that what you will. Very straightforward and simple. So doable. Need more John. Yeah, you need that Johnson and Johnson correlation. No more tears when you play that lineup. Yeah. It's too easy, chat. It's too easy. Where does Cook rank in my running backs? Not 1, 2, 3. I think he's good. You know? Like there's so many running backs this week that are, that look really solid, right? There's so many running backs that just look super good this particular week. So like Dearness Johnson, Cordero Patterson, Najee Harris, Jonathan Taylor, Austin Eckler, Ezekiel Elliott, James Conner, Leonard Fournette, Michael Carter, Dalvin Cook's in there, Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram is now a thing because I guess we're not expecting Alvin Kamara to go, right? Did news break on him since I went live? I don't see any news. Let me check Twitter real quick. Can you guys check and see if he's definitely out? If he's out, Ingram's 100% the guy too. No, it's just the latest. If Godwin is out, would I be off Brady and GPPs? No. Not confirmed out. Got it. Yes, Peyton said no Kamara. So now I'm getting both. Like if Kamara is 100% out, then like I'm searching Twitter right now. Kamara and Peyton. Sorry for the here. Jordan Schultz. I'm told Sean Payton and the Saints are preparing game plan Sunday versus the Titans without Alvin Kamara, who's missed consecutive practices. So there you have it. If they're expecting him to be out, then there you go. So now that's just another, right? That's just another running back. That's a super value play with him being 4,500. Right? It's too much. It's too many guys. There's just too many guys out there this week. So when there's 3, now there's definitely 2 and possibly 3 players that are out there for us to play at running back sub 5K. If Moss is out, Singletary at 4,700 is more than certainly viable, right? And you have Dearness Johnson, and you now have Mark Ingram. It's absurd. It's crazy how many guys are actually out there. You know, it's too much. So I'm going to be interested to see this this running back poll. I want to see the running back poll. Fire it up there. Right? Because we can only poll 5 guys in the chat. So I'm going to ask chat without a poll, would you rather play? Let's make it can we do 2? What do you want? Like a high priced one and then a low priced one? Okay, so do running. We need 2 polls. Wait, we can't cancel it. F. I was going to say do one at 6,500 and below and one at 6,500 and up of 5 guys. Stop the poll. Yeah, stop it. Stop the vote. So I want 1 poll of running backs that are above 6,600 and up, and I want another poll 6,500 and down. Yeah, like it's very possibly a 3 running back week. I mean, not possibly. It's totally a 3 running back week in cash. Just add Dearness. Don't even include Dearness Johnson. We have to include him because now I think it's interesting. I think it's closer between. I think it's much closer between Dearness Johnson and Mark Ingram than people are going to be willing to admit. You know, it's going to be way closer than I think people are going to say, oh, it's Dearness Johnson because they've heard of that for 3 days already. They've prepared themselves mentally for the fact that Dearness Johnson is the value running back right now. But if you're not sure, go back and look up what, in 2019 and 2020, what Latavius Murray did in games, Mark Ingram did in games in 2019 and Latavius Murray did in games in 2020 when Alvin Kamara was out. Because it's significant. It's going to be very significant, the volume that he gets. You know that they're comfortable with him. He clearly knows the playbook. He understands everything that's going on. He is very involved in the passing game, is going to be the guy inside the 5, and has an expectation of 15 to 20 carries on the ground. Like, him and Dearness Johnson are this. Taysom is a problem. Taysom hurts a little bit, but, like, they're not an open it up offense and haven't been all season long. They've run this really archaic offense. Pardon me. Big sneeze. So I think that people are still going to vote Johnson because they're used to it at this point. But like, God, this week is so weird. This week is really weird. In before Taysom takes a goal line touchdown away. Yeah, maybe. It's certainly possible. But like, now think about it. Because you guys were balking at the fact of like Singletary being a thing at 4,700. In the event that Moss is out, Singletary might be one of the best tournament plays out there, as he'll probably come in at less percentage. Like, he becomes the pivot play. All right, chat. We have the optimal expensive running back in the chat for the chat to decide. Singletary becomes a fantastic tournament play if Moss is out. If Moss is out. He is 100% an if-then statement. But if Moss is out and he has not practiced on Wednesday or Thursday, I have not checked to see if he's practicing today because I don't know if we have the practice report. I may have to DM Sal. Limited practice participant. So he rode a bike. Yep, non-contact. Because like, there's no 2 ways about being concussed. It's like being pregnant. You're either concussed or you're not. You're not a little concussed. Oh, he's just got a little concussion. No, it's a yes or a no. It's binary. There's no, well, he's a little concussed. Oh, how's your friend? Oh, she's a little pregnant. No, she's either pregnant or she's not. There's no a little pregnant and there's no a little concussed. It's a yes, no question. So we have Herbert. We're going to decide the optimal expensive running back. I'm going to call it early. At 53% of the vote right now is Najee Harris. And second place was Jonathan Taylor with 39% of the vote. So now we're going to throw up the other one and go with the cheaper one. And figure out if people still want Dearness, or if they want Singletary, or if they want James Conner, or if they want, like, there's so many ways to go. Yeah, his brain bounced off the inside of his skull a little. Yeah, it's bad. It's all the way bad all the time. A concussion is a concussion is a concussion. A pregnancy is a pregnancy is a pregnancy. You are or you are not. That's it. Baskin Robbins has nothing on this week's slate. I think it's going to be interesting for cash because, like, you can get volume in a lot of different ways this week that you can't we haven't been able to on normal weeks. Like, you've heard me say on the Sunday Anti-Tinkercast, every single week I'm live 45 minutes before lock on Twitch, before kickoff. And by Sunday, the cash game lineup has been pretty obvious most weeks this season. It's been pretty obvious most weeks this season. And this week, less so. Or this, just way less so. And it's not because we don't have value. It's that we have too much value. So when you have too much value, when you have a value tsunami like this week, it puts you in a position where, like, which value play do you play? And what if one value play has 22 points and the other one has 12? As opposed to before this Ingram news, and if we get Moss news, if there's 3 sub 5K running backs that project for 15 to 22 touches, there's a lot of different ways to go. And if you pick the wrong one, it can hurt you. Same with the wide receivers. If you pick Washington and Johnson catches a long touchdown, or if you pick Johnson and Washington catches a 40-yard touchdown and Johnson does not, and there's a 10 to 15 point difference between the two, it's going to be tough. So cash is a different animal this week than it normally is. Now for tournaments, it's very easy to leverage off of percentages. Our optimal, cheaper running back, as I said, it's going to be Dearness Johnson. Second place is going to be James Conner, followed by Singletary. Ingram not on the list. I'm assuming that people just prefer Johnson to Singletary. Or sorry, not to Singletary, but to Ingram. So that's what our cash game lineup in chat looks like so far. Pretty normal. And I think that what you have to remember about cash games is don't fade percentages in cash games. Tournaments, you can, but you don't need to. It's better to leverage off of that and think about the entire lineup. It's why we stack. It's why we double stack and have a bring back. It's why we correlate our lineups. It's why we don't just, play 9 random plays in a lineup. Because it's easier to be right about a couple of things than it is to be right about a whole laundry list of things. But in cash games, you're trying to stuff as much volume as you possibly can. At running back this week, it's extremely easy to stuff volume. I would suggest when you think about the volume that you're going to plug in, be very mindful of the targets that you're going to plug in if you're playing $1, $2, $3, $5 head-to-heads. Because the target is worth like 2.8 carries in terms of expected fantasy points. They're way more valuable. So if you can target a lot of targets at running back, as well as a lot of touches overall, on top of stacking tons of targets at wide receiver, you're probably going to end up on top this week. Will the winning lineup carry higher total percent than usual. I mean, I can't predict the future with 100% accuracy. It may, but when there's too much value, there's going to be great players that are going to carry a lower percentage than normal, right? The percentages are going to tick. So every person that was going to play Johnson. Now, what might happen is Johnson might come in instead of 40%, he might be like 33, because now there's an extra value play that people can pivot off of him to. But if there's three of them, if there's Singletary and Johnson and Ingram, people are probably going to be on Johnson the most. Then they're going to be on Ingram. And then Singletary is going to be still a great value in the case if Moss is out. Still, I always have to throw that caveat out there. Where they can't play all of them. You think cash is less profitable in a week like this, especially when trying to exploit the low dog? I don't. We've gone over that there are more bad players per capita at low stakes than there are at high stakes. And there are way more players in total at low stakes than there are at high stakes. So the bad players are still out there. And they're still going to make bad player lineups. Looks like an amazing GPP week. It is. This is a week where you're going to have to focus on exactly what you're doing in tournaments and be very specific about the lineups that you want to build. But it's going to be possible, at least in my first glance at what the 5 under 5 are going to be, it's going to be entirely possible, A, to afford a lot of combinations of stud players, and B, get those players at under 10%. There's a lot of great plays on this slate that are going to be under 10%. You know? It's entirely possible. And those players are the ones that can most likely go off for 25 to 35 DraftKings points. 10 under 10? No. Still 5 under 5. It'll be out on Saturday morning. 7 a.m. Eastern, 4 a.m. Pacific time. Singletary won't be under 5. I mean, if Singletary's under 5, that's a problem from the field. Because, looking at projections right now, Mark Ingram was projected at 0.5%. And nothing's been adjusted yet. He's not going to be 0.5%. He's probably going to be 20% minimum. If Kamara out, which is the news that we have, it's what we're working off of right now. So if he's going to be out, and there's only 3 running backs right now projected at over 20%, and it's Dearness Johnson, Najee Harris, and Patterson. So now you're pumping one more up into that range. Now the guys that you have between 10 and 20%, Fournette, Connor, Eckler, Elliott, Taylor, Cook, Jones, Singletary, and Swift, all bump down. And more specifically, at the same price point, Singletary, who is projected right now at 13%, if you're going to bump another player from that price point up to about 15 to 20%, Singletary's has to drop. He'll be under 10% if he is, as if Moss can't clear. It's really a weird week, guys. I'm sorry. But it's weeks like this that have me kind of all over the place because there's so many different ways that you can go. The weeks where there's very definitive lines, very, very clear lines that you have to take, it makes things a lot easier on somebody like me. Because here's the plays, these are the best plays, this is where you should go, this is what you should do, and here's why. And right now, it's a totally different scenario because it's not clean. It makes for a really good GPP week. Because you can kind of do a ton of things. But what about FanDuel, which is way more. FanDuel is way more friendly, right? FanDuel is way more friendly in terms of pricing. And very touchdown oriented. Way less volume oriented. I don't know. Pick a defense. How about we just plug like a 4K defense in here? Fine. Right? Usually I'm playing defenses that are under 4K. Like you play the Eagles in this spot, you play whatever. Like 4K. We have an average of 7,500 left to spend. That includes a tight end. And there's no tight end that's 7,000. Right? There's no tight end that's 7,000. I don't know. It's do whatever you want week on FanDuel. You don't even need, like, it's do whatever the hell you want week on FanDuel. Pick a double stack, chat. Pick a double stack for FanDuel. Who do you want to double stack? How about Herbert? You guys picked Herbert earlier, right? You guys picked Herbert earlier. So how about we build a Herbert? Let's double stack that game. So I don't know. How about Keenan Allen's good? Mike Williams is good. Justin Jefferson's good. Awesome. Still have $9,000. We have $9,000 to spend in the flex. We play whatever we want. The only things we're locked off from is Najee Harris and Jonathan Taylor. Oh, look. Oh, I can't get to them? The hell I can't. The hell I can't get to them. There, I'll just spend a little less on a defense. Bam. Do whatever the hell you want week. FanDuel's free. Dalvin Cook for the onslaught. Could totally do it. Write that down. Write that down. Oh, what a stupid week. Week 10, where you can do whatever you want. What a dumb week. Don't dupe me, bro. FanDuel's free, but it's free for everyone. Exactly. You know, you wanted more correlation in that lineup? Right? You know, Al, you didn't have a secondary stack. Fine. Put in Najee Harris instead of JT. Double stack, bring back secondary stack. What about FanDuel? Or sorry, what about DraftKings? What can't you do? What can't you do on DraftKings? Right? All right, let's see. Buffalo. Do we want to bring back on the Jets, though? Give me a stack to bring back on this team. Okay, so Chargers. Right? Ooh, and we get late game action. Yeah. Late game double stack. Wide receiver. Boom, boom. Can we do the same thing? Can we do this too? Get to Jefferson? Can't get to Okay, Thielen? Fine. All right. How about now we go over here and Buccaneers? Bring back options. Not great. Secondary stack. Give me a secondary stack, chat. Is Antonio Brown going to play? Yeah, he practiced. Good. 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 Right? So, like, again, Johnson, D'Ernest, and how about Ingram? Good. Right? We have a tight end and a flex left to go. I don't know. How about Hawkinson? Right? Can we get there? 5,500. We have 3,800 remaining. Washington. Look at there. There's our secondary stack. DST. We have 4,200. 4,200 remaining. Fine. Bills against the Jets. What a stupid week. What a dumb week. Going to be fun, though. Scores are going to be real high. Scores are going to be exceptionally high this week. If the chalk does what the chalk should do. Why is this dumb? I'm going to love all my lineups. Until the chalk fails. And that's why we work to leverage. That's why the 5 under 5 video is going to be so important this week. You can fade all the low scoring games this week and low owned guys from the high scoring games. You can do whatever you want. Do whatever it is you want this week. Like, I don't know how else to put it, but like, there's enough value at all the different spots to do whatever the hell you want. Can we run the polls? Like, I'm done. There's nothing else to do. We don't even need the polls. Look, we don't need the polls. Here's your poll. Cash game wide receiver. Where is he? Is Deontay Johnson. Right? Ooh. Yeah. Look at there. We could just stack. Look at there. We could stack all the, look at there. Triple Johnson stack. The Johnson triple. Right? And then like Evans. Right? Okay, yeah. He's too cheap too. We still have 4,600. Whatever. This is stupid. Dude, play whatever. What a dumb week. Polls equals money. Okay, fine. You guys can pick the optimal cash game wide receiver. I just built the cash game lineup. It's beyond absurd. Chat's already picking Deontay Johnson at 77%. Like 10 targets in pretty much every game this year. Except for last week where he had 6, right? He's had 2 games. Against Denver, he had 2. Chicago, he had 11.7 points. Like, you have a very realistic 15-point expectation every time you play Deontay Johnson at 6,800, and you have a 25 to 30-point ceiling from him if he gets 100 yards and or a touchdown. Johnson's going to win. He's at 66% in the chat right now. Like, too many targets. DraftKings is way too friendly to high volume target getters. So Deontay Johnson is your next guy in this lineup. Over Mike Evans, over Pittman, over Keenan Allen. He seems to be the guy. Evans probably has the most touchdown upside. So the Johnson & Johnson lineup to start in cash, leaving you with $4,600, $23,000 remaining, plus a defense that's going to be cheap. Guys, there's nothing much else I can give you. Know where the value is. Monitor the Friday practice reports. Pay attention to your percentages in tournaments. It's not about the percentage that one guy holds. It's about the percentages that your lineup adds up to in total. For the Millionaire Maker, try to stay under like 130%. For like smaller field tournaments, you can bump that higher because it's going to be consolidated more on the chalk. So like under 155 or under 160, somewhere in that range is fine for like 100-man tournaments and stuff like that. Because it's not all that difficult to get different and play like a 2 to 5% player in those games. Much different than doing that in a Millionaire Maker with like 200,000 of your closest friends. But I wish you the best of luck this weekend. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. And if you do happen to win, make sure to go to smizzle.tv/charity so that you can donate a little bit back, because every single dollar helps. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.
He's a legend.